I'm Drew Tonneson. I work for Dell EMC in PowerMax Engineering. I'm going to take you through the PowerMax Plug-in version 1.2 new workflows. Normally the way I do this is with callouts. I don't usually use audio, but it's just a little bit more complicated, and I figured it would be easier if I walk you through it. Don't expect this video to be pristine. I'm not after perfection. I just want to talk through it as if I were speaking to you as a customer and show you the new changes that were made to the environment. So excuse any mistakes you hear throughout the demo. I'm just really trying to explain this as best I can without doing call-outs, which I know a lot of people who read my blog prefer I did audio. A lot just don't have the time. So here, this is version 1.2 has been installed. So you can see I'm using version 7.6 here of vRO. As I mentioned in the blog, we don't support 8.0 for a number of reasons. Again, there's really nothing I've seen in it that is compelling, such that we wanted to put in all the extra development hours it would have taken to get all the VMware bugs working. It just didn't make any sense. And we consulted with VMware about it, and they suggested we wait until 8.1. So 7.6 is the latest version, but if you've got an earlier version, 7.5, 7.4, we support that also. So I'm going to come out to our Dell EMC PowerMax folder, open that up, and you can see here our usual suspects of folders and the workflows in them. And I want to concentrate on the provisioning to host or host groups because we've changed the way it looks. Now, the old ones aren't here, so I can't show you, but we did actually keep the old VMware provisioning one. So I'm going to use that just as an example so you can see what changed for those who've had the old plugin before. So let's say I'm going to run creating a VMFS data store for an ESXi cluster. So you can see here the deprecated version, and we kept it in case customers actually already have this as part of vRA. So if you already have a workflow blueprint, we didn't want to inconvenience you, so we kept these out here as deprecated. So here I'm going to select the cluster, data store name, volume, the capacity size, type, gigabytes, terabytes, cylinders, and the VMFS version, and then under the storage information, the array and the storage group. So very simple, but of course this requires that you have a storage group that's available that you can put it into, and that storage group is going to have to be presented to the environment in a masking view, right? So for anyone who uses the Virtual Storage Integrator, which is a plugin we have to the vCenter, this functionality is just about the same, right? You have to have a storage group to provision to. That storage group has to be in a masking view. Okay. Now, Unisphere for PowerMax has a lot of capability around provisioning wizards, where it gives you the flexibility to generate objects on the fly, right? So if you don't have a particular object, let's say a port group, you can create that on the fly without pre-creating it before you provision storage to the cluster. Okay. Now, those wizards are actually enabled into the REST API. So what we're able to do now is we can access them, and we can change the way that we do our provisioning through the vRO plugin. So let's cancel out of this, and let's go up to our host, where we're going to provision volumes to a host group. And we'll start this workflow. Now you can see already we've got 4 different screens where we're going to be able to select information before we just had the 2. So I'm going to start by selecting my array. Once my array is set, it's going to gather all the information about the existing host groups on the array and present them to me. So here you can see, here's all the different host groups I have available to me, okay? But you also see I've got a radio button here where I can say, I forgot to create my host group, or I want to create a new host group. And I could do that here. I could do test. I could come in and say, okay, I'm going to select all my existing fiber channel. I'm going to select a new one, stick that in there, and then I could go ahead and create a new host group while I'm in the process of provisioning. Okay, I'm not going to do that, so we'll just select no. I just want to take a particular group I already have. So I'm just going to take this one. So I'll select my host group, select through, and now I'm going to be presenting masking view. Okay. Do I want a new masking view? Do I want to use an existing masking view? If I want a new masking view, I'm going to click that and say, yep, I'm going to give it a new masking view name. If I don't want to select the masking view, I'm going to say, no, I'm going to use one that exists. And at this point, since I'm going to use one that exists, I need to click in through the storage group because I'm going to select the storage group, which is going to dictate which masking view is used. So here I'm going to be presented my storage groups. Okay, I'm going to create or select the storage group that's related to my host group, right? And we're going to click through here, and now I'm going to be able to create my volumes. Now, if I decided, well, no, actually I want a new masking view. So I come back here and I say, yeah, give me a new masking view instead. So I'm going to create a new masking view. And click through here, and now I'm going to be given more selection options, right? So if I'm going to create my masking view, I'm going to have to give it a port group in addition to a storage group, right? So I have the same options here. Use an existing port group, create a new port group. What kind of port group? Am I using fiber or SCSI directors for the ports? And here, come in here and say, okay, what ports are available to me? Here they all are. Add them in here, create new ones. So you can see, just like Unisphere, I'm going to be given all the flexibility that I can get through, what I would say the administrator's tool, except now I have access to it as a VMware admin or user. So we're going to click back through here, my storage group. I'm going to use an existing one, and now I'm at the point where I can do my volumes. Now what I can do is I can say, no, I don't want new volumes, and I'm going to select an existing set of volumes here, okay? And all the volumes available to me that are on that particular array. In this case, I need new volumes, so I'm going to select yes here. I'm going to select just one, I don't know, 2 gig, and no, I don't want a friendly name. So at this point, I'm good. So I go through, I can submit that workflow. That workflow will go through and create the volumes for me, which is all it has to do is just create the single volume, and then take that volume and present it into the storage group that I asked for. So you can see it's already finished, success, created the device, put it in here. So we look through our log files and we say, yep, creating 1 volume, 2 gig, blah, blah, blah. And there's my new volume, FB. So the new features that are available to you as a user, you can do a lot more with, which is great. And again, if we come back here where I started with the VMware provisioning aspect, which a lot of our customers will use, we have the new provisioning down here, Provision VMFS Data Store. And this workflow, again, it's going to look very similar to the other one, right? The only difference here is that we're dealing with any vCenter environment, right? So again, vRO itself does not have to be integrated with a vCenter such that you can create data stores, right? I can go in and just use it for the purposes of provisioning storage, right? I don't have to have that. This environment happens to be configured with VRA so that I can create blueprints and present them to my users. So I'm given access to, I have 2 vCenters here, and I'm going to be given access to both clusters here. We'll name this test, go through, and then here again, we have the ability to use existing or new stuff, right? So if I'm going to use a new host group, I can do that if I want to use an existing host group like this one. Here it is. I'm going to take that, come in and new masking view. Nope, again, I'm just going to grab, well, here, why don't I actually do it? I'll create a new masking view since it's going to let me anyway. New port group, that I'm not going to create a new port group. I'm just going to create an existing one. I don't have many ports, so. Storage group, test. I'm going to enable compression because we absolutely recommend that. And here, my SRP, I only have one on this box. And here's that other new feature which is available, and I mentioned in the blog, is that you can select a service level now. Right? So I have my service level set. I have compression on my new storage group going in my new masking view using existing initiator group and port group. And again, I just want one volume. And in this case, I'm set it to 10. User-friendly name, I can keep that, get rid of it. I'll just leave it. It's fine. And here, if we want to watch the log file while it's actually going through the process of creating the volume, adding it, rescan. So we're going to create a volume here on 357. Completed the volumes, blah, blah, blah. It's going to jump through here really quickly, presenting it down, rescanning our HBAs on the cluster, that Boston cluster. And once it recognizes the device, it will be able to create a data store on it. So there, found the device, blah, 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 create the data store. Once the data store is created here, it's going to rescan the other hosts in the cluster so that they will recognize the new data store. Here we go, 117, this is the other host in the cluster it's going to scan. And there you go, you can see that's our 56F is the actual device ID. Added data store test, successful. Let's jump into the actual environment. So we'll log in here. Our Boston cluster, and then go over to the data stores. And there's test. So there's our 10 gig data store. So more robust than before, more capability, certainly more of what you, our customers, have been asking for capability. So I hope you enjoyed the demo walkthrough. If you have any questions, as always, just leave me a comment on the blog and I'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks.